Imagine a powerful elite claiming to defend democracy only to resist it when their dominance is threatened. This isn't just a modern story, it's a tale as old as history itself. One of the most striking examples comes from ancient Rome, where the Roman Senate found itself at odds with Julius Caesar. The Senate, composed of wealthy aristocrats, had controlled Rome for generations, but Caesar's rise challenged their grip on power, sparking their greatest fear: the loss of control to the people. Caesar wasn't just one man, he was a symbol of what the Senate feared most: a shift in governance toward popular democracy. His rise revealed how elites react when their privilege is at risk, setting the stage for one of history's most pivotal political struggles. The Roman Senate was an institution dominated by an elite class of aristocrats. While Rome's republic included democratic elements like elections and assemblies, the real power rested firmly in the hands of the Senate. Senators came from wealthy families and controlled key aspects of government, including policies and finances. They styled themselves as the guardians of the republic, but their primary interest lay in maintaining their own privileges. The common people, or plebeians, had little say in decision-making, and the Senate worked tirelessly to keep it that way. Whenever the masses demanded reforms, the Senate either ignored or actively blocked them. When leaders like Caesar emerged, promising to bring meaningful change, the Senate saw this not as progress, but as a direct threat to their dominance. Caesar's rise was the embodiment of what the Senate feared most: the empowerment of the people, disrupting the carefully balanced system that protected aristocratic privilege. Julius Caesar wasn't merely a military leader, he was a reformer who understood the struggles of ordinary Romans in ways the Senate never could. By the time Caesar rose to prominence, Rome was in crisis. Veterans returned home from wars only to find themselves landless and impoverished. Urban citizens were drowning in debt, while the gap between rich and poor widened to unsustainable levels. The Senate, preoccupied with safeguarding their own wealth, remained indifferent. Caesar, however, built his career on addressing these issues head-on. His proposals for land redistribution, debt relief, and public works projects resonated deeply with the masses, who saw in him a leader willing to take action. Caesar wasn't just seeking personal power, he was answering the calls of a population abandoned by its leaders. For the Senate, this was nothing short of terrifying. Caesar's popularity wasn't just a challenge to individual senators, it threatened the entire system that had long kept power concentrated in their hands. His reforms struck at the very foundation of their privilege. If Caesar succeeded in giving the people more influence, the Senate's control would be irreparably weakened. Their opposition wasn't simply against Caesar Therman, it was against the democratic ideals he represented. The Senate's reaction was driven by a deep-seated fear of losing their monopoly on power, and their resistance to Caesar was, at its core, a battle against the rise of popular democracy. What truly terrified the Senate was the prospect of losing control after generations of dominance. For centuries, they had ruled by ensuring that power stayed within a small circle of wealthy families. Caesar's rise threatened to dismantle this arrangement, offering an alternative vision of governance that included the people. The reforms he proposed didn't just threaten individual fortunes, they threatened the system itself. Faced with this challenge, the Senate didn't engage with Caesar's ideas or offer compromises. Instead, they framed him as a tyrant, claiming that his ambitions would destroy the Republic. But in reality, their fears weren't about tyranny, they were about democracy. The hypocrisy of the Senate's actions is glaring. They claim to be defenders of democracy and the Republic, but their track record told a different story. For decades, they had manipulated the system to serve their own interests, blocking reforms that would benefit the poor and silencing popular leaders through intimidation and violence. When Caesar rose to prominence, the Senate painted him as the enemy of democracy, even as they worked to undermine it themselves. Their opposition to Caesar wasn't about protecting the Republic, it was about preserving their aristocratic privilege at all costs. Their cries for the defense of democracy were, in truth, a desperate attempt to hold on to power. Caesar's rise exposed the Senate's true priorities. He represented the will of the people, a call for reform in a system that had become increasingly unequal and out of touch. The Senate's resistance wasn't just an attack on Caesar, it was an attack on the very idea that the masses could have a voice in governance. The reforms Caesar proposed, though radical to the Senate, were necessary for addressing the deep inequalities that threatened to tear Rome apart. But the Senate's fear of losing control led them to reject these reforms outright, pushing the Republic closer to collapse. In the end, the Senate's opposition to Julius Caesar wasn't about saving the Republic from tyranny, it was about saving themselves from the rise of democracy. Caesar's connection to the people and his push for reform represented a shift in power that the Senate could not accept. Their actions were driven by fear, the fear of a world where the masses had a say in how Rome was governed. The story of the Roman Senate's resistance to Caesar serves as a powerful reminder of how elites often react when their privilege is threatened. Whether in ancient Rome or more modern times, the fear of true democracy has led many elites to resist change and cling to control, even at the expense of the people they claim to serve. The fall of the Roman Republic offers lessons that resonate far beyond its time. The Senate's resistance to Caesar was not just a political conflict, it was a battle over who should hold power and whose voices should matter. By clinging to their privileges, the Senate ignored the needs of the people and created the conditions for their own downfall. Caesar's rise, though controversial, revealed the cracks in a system that had long ceased to work for the majority. His story reminds us that democracy is fragile, and the fear of change can often be its greatest threat. If this exploration of Julius Caesar and the Roman Senate's political struggle intrigued you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into history's most defining moments. Join us next time as we uncover more stories that continue to shape the world we live in today.